I was at work on my 28th birthday, excited because my family promised a special celebration dinner. I kept checking my phone but got no messages. During lunch break, I scrolled Facebook and froze. My sister posted photos from Miami International Airport with our parents, my brother, and his wife, all grinning with cocktails. The caption read, "Family vacation starts now." My birthday was not mentioned. My hands shook as I typed one word in the family group chat. Why? My father's response appeared instantly. We didn't want to waste our time on a clown. I sat in my cubicle at the insurance company, staring at that message until the words blurred. My chest felt like someone had placed a concrete block on it. The fluorescent lights hummed above me, and somewhere across the office, someone laughed at a joke I could not hear. The world kept moving, while mine had just stopped. I had always been the responsible one, the provider, the person everyone called when things went wrong. 3 years ago, I paid $12,000 for my younger brother's college tuition when he got into state. 2 years ago, I contributed $8,000 toward my sister's wedding because she wanted the venue by the lake. In the past 2 years alone, I had given my parents money for their mortgage 3 separate times. $5,000 in January of last year. Another $5,000 in June. $5,000 more this past March. $15,000 total, just to keep their house from foreclosure. I scrolled back through the Facebook photos. My mother wore a new sundress. My father had on designer sunglasses. My brother and his wife held matching margaritas. My sister was laughing, her head thrown back, her engagement ring catching the airport lights. They looked happy, genuinely, perfectly happy, without me. My fingers moved across the phone screen before I could stop them. I typed carefully, keeping my voice calm even through text. "Then this clown doesn't want to spend money on you anymore." The response was immediate. My mother sent 3 laughing emojis. Just emojis. No words, no explanation, no apology. My brother wrote, "Dude, you're being dramatic. It's just a trip." My sister added, "Stop being so sensitive. We needed a break from your negativity." My negativity. I read that line 5 times. I had worked 60-hour weeks for the past month to help cover the cost of my father's dental surgery. I had listened to my mother complain about her book club drama for 2 hours on the phone last Tuesday. I had helped my brother move into his new apartment on my only day off in 3 weeks, carrying boxes up 4 flights of stairs because the elevator was broken. That was my negativity. I closed the group chat. My coworker, Sandra, walked past my desk and paused. "You okay, Joseph? You look pale." "Fine," I said. "Just fine." She did not believe me, but she kept walking. I pulled up my email and found what I was looking for. 1 week ago, my father had sent me a message with the subject line, "Emergency." The body of the email was brief. Needed $3,000 for an unexpected medical bill, would pay me back by the end of the month, appreciated my understanding. I had sent the money that same day through a direct transfer. No questions asked. No hesitation. I checked my bank account. The transfer had cleared on the same day they booked their flights to Miami. I pulled up the Miami hotel they tagged in another photo. The resort cost $300 per night. They were staying for 5 days. That was $1,500 just for lodging, not counting flights, food, drinks, activities. They used my money. My emergency money. They used it to fund a vacation they deliberately excluded me from, on my birthday. I called my best friend Marcus during my afternoon break. He worked construction across town, and I could hear the sounds of machinery in the background when he picked up. "Happy birthday, man," he said warmly. "You doing anything special tonight?" "My family flew to Miami without me," I said flatly. "Found out on Facebook." The machinery sounds stopped. "What?" I explained everything. The photos, the messages, the money, the timing. When I finished, Marcus was silent for a long moment. "Joseph," he finally said, his voice tight with anger, "that's not family. That's parasites. They're all I have." "No, brother. You have me. You have people who actually care. They're not it." I wanted to believe him, but the weight in my chest would not lift. I thanked him and hung up. My shift ended at 5. I drove home to my small apartment on the east side. the one I could barely afford because I kept giving money away. The building was old, the walls were thin, and my neighbor's television bled through the plaster every night. But it was mine. I unlocked my door and saw the birthday cake sitting on the kitchen counter. I had bought it yesterday from the grocery store bakery. Chocolate with vanilla frosting. Happy birthday written in blue icing. I had bought it for myself because I assumed we would celebrate tonight. I assumed wrong. I checked my mailbox out of habit. Between the bills and the junk mail, I found a letter from my father. The envelope was dated 1 week ago, postmarked the day before he sent the emergency email. I opened it. The handwriting was rushed, almost frantic. Joseph, I need your help. Emergency situation. $3,000. I'll explain everything later. Please don't ask questions. Just trust me. Love, Dad. I held the letter and the email side by side. Same request, same amount, same sense of urgency. Except there was no emergency. There was never an emergency. There was just a family vacation they wanted to take without the clown. Something inside me shifted. It was not anger, not yet. It was clarity. Cold, sharp clarity. I pulled out my laptop and opened a spreadsheet. I went through 6 years of bank statements, credit card records, and Venmo transactions. Every dollar I had ever given to my family, I documented. My brother's tuition, $12,000. My sister's wedding, $8,000. My parents' mortgage payments, $15,000. My father's dental surgery, $4,000. My mother's car repair, $3,000. My brother's security deposit, $2,000. My sister's credit card debt, $5,000. Smaller amounts for birthdays, holidays, emergencies, both real and fabricated. The total came to $63,000. $63,000 over 6 years. I was 28 years old. I had been supporting my family since I was 22, fresh out of college, barely making enough to support myself. I saved the spreadsheet. I titled it, Investment with No Return. Then I went to my contacts and found my ex-girlfriend's name, Sarah. We had broken up 4 months ago. She said I was too generous with people who did not deserve it. She said I let my family walk all over me. She said she could not watch me destroy myself for people who would never appreciate it. I had called her cruel. I had called her wrong. I hovered over her name, almost called her, then deleted her contact instead. She did not need to see me like this. Nobody did. I ate a slice of the birthday cake. It tasted like cardboard. I threw the rest in the trash. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to my neighbor's television through the wall. A game show. Applause. Laughter. Somewhere in Miami, my family was probably at dinner, probably ordering expensive wine, probably not thinking about me at all. I picked up my phone one last time and typed a message in the family group chat. I'm done. Nobody responded. I did not expect them to, but I meant it. For the first time in 6 years, I absolutely meant it. 3 days passed. I blocked my family on social media, but kept them unblocked on my phone. I wanted to see what they would say when they came back. I wanted to watch them realize I was serious. Work was a blur. I processed insurance claims, answered emails, attended meetings. My boss, Harold, was a man in his 50s with gray hair and a kind face. He had worked at the company for 30 years. During a meeting about quarterly reports, he caught me staring out the window. Joseph, stay behind for a minute, he said after everyone else filed out. I thought I was in trouble. Instead, he closed the door and sat across from me. You've been distracted, he said. That's not like you. Everything okay at home? I almost said yes, almost gave him the standard answer. But something about his genuine concern made me crack. Family trouble, I admitted. They went on vacation without me, used my money to do it. On my birthday. Harold leaned back in his chair and nodded slowly. How much have you given them over the years? $63,000. He whistled low. And how much have they given you? I did not have an answer. Joseph, I'm going to tell you something I learned the hard way. Some people are takers. They'll bleed you dry and convince you it's your job to let them. The hardest thing you'll ever do is say no. But it's also the most important. I thanked him and left. His words stuck with me. On the fourth day, my mother called. I almost did not answer. But I wanted to hear what she would say. I picked up. "Joseph, honey, we're back," she said brightly, as if nothing had happened. "Can you pick us up from the airport? Our flight lands at 3. I checked the time. It was 1:30. They expected me to drop everything and drive 40 minutes to the airport. "I'm busy," I said. There was a pause. "Busy with what?" "Work. It's Saturday." "I'm still busy." Her tone changed. Sharp. Cold. "After everything we've done for you? You can't do this one simple thing?" Everything they had done for me. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. I did neither. "Find another ride," I said, and hung up. She did not call back. Nobody did. Not that day, not the next. 2 days later, on a Monday evening, someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw my brother, Danny. He was 25, worked as a sales associate at an electronics store, and still acted like he was in college. I considered not opening the door, but I was curious. I opened it. He stood there in his work polo, hands in his pockets, trying to look casual. "Hey, man," he said. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. He walked into my small living room, looked around like he was seeing it for the first time, even though he had been here dozens of times. "So, my car's in the shop," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Transmission trouble. Should be fixed by Friday. I was wondering if I could borrow yours for the week, just for work. I'll fill the tank." I stared at him. "No." He blinked. "What?" "No. You can't borrow my car." "Dude, come on. It's just a week. Take the bus, call an Uber, figure it out." His face shifted from surprise to confusion to anger in the span of 3 seconds. "When did you become such a jerk?" I walked to my kitchen table, picked up the printed spreadsheet I had been carrying around, and handed it to him. "Read this." He scanned it, his eyes moving down the columns of numbers, dates, amounts, descriptions. $63,000, line by line, year by year. "So?" he said, dropping the paper on the table. "Family helps family. That's what you're supposed to do. Did you help me on my birthday?" I asked quietly. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. That was different. "How?" "We needed a break. We're stressed. You wouldn't understand. I worked 60-hour weeks last month to help pay for Dad's dental surgery. How stressed was I?" "That's different." "How?" He did not have an answer. He just stared at me like I had become a stranger. Maybe I had. "You're really not going to help me?" he asked. "Not anymore." He left without another word. The door slammed hard enough to rattle the frame. I sat on my couch and felt nothing. No guilt, no regret, just a strange sense of calm. The next day, my father called. I almost sent it to voicemail, but something made me answer. "Joseph," he said, his voice urgent, strained. "I need your help. It's Rusty. Rusty. My family's dog. A golden retriever we got when I was 14. I had grown up with that dog. He slept at the foot of my bed through high school. He was 15 now, old and slow, but still the best dog I had ever known. I loved that animal more than I loved most people. What happened?" My voice was tight. "He's sick. Intestinal blockage. Needs emergency surgery. The vet says it's $4,000. Joseph, we can't afford it. He'll die if we don't do this. Please. I know things have been rough, but this is Rusty. You love him. I know you do." My resolve, my anger, my clarity, all of it cracked. Rusty. God, not Rusty. "Which vet?" I asked. "Riverside Animal Hospital. I'll call them directly. Give them my card." "Thank you, Joseph. Thank you so much." He hung up. I immediately dialed Riverside Animal Hospital. A receptionist answered on the second ring. "Hi, this is Joseph Carter. My father just called about our dog, Rusty. Golden Retriever. Needs surgery for an intestinal blockage. I'd like to pay directly over the phone. There was a pause. Can you give me the owner's name? Richard Carter. I heard typing. More typing. Then, I'm sorry, sir. I don't have any record of a Richard Carter or a dog named Rusty with an emergency surgery scheduled. My blood went cold. Can you check again? More typing. No, sir. Nothing. Are you sure it's this location? He specifically said Riverside. We haven't had any emergency surgeries today at all. It's been a slow day, actually. I thanked her and hung up. My hands were shaking. I called every other veterinary clinic within 20 miles. None of them had a Richard Carter. None of them had a dog named Rusty. I called my father back. He answered immediately, probably expecting me to confirm payment. There's no surgery, I said. I called every vet in the area. Rusty's not sick. Silence. Dad, where's Rusty right now? More silence. Then, quietly, in the backyard. Is he sick? He's old. Is he dying? Joseph, we need the money. The trip cost more than we thought. We have credit card bills. I hung up. I did not throw my phone. I did not yell. I just sat there, staring at the wall, realizing that my family had just tried to use my love for my childhood dog to scam $4,000 out of me. After Miami? After the birthday? After everything. They thought I was a clown. They were right. But the show was over. I got in my car and drove. I did not think about where I was going until I was already in my parents' driveway. The house was a modest split level in a suburb 30 minutes from my apartment. I had helped save this house 3 times. Now I wanted to burn it down. I did not knock. I walked through the front door like I still lived there. My father was in the living room, watching television. He looked up, startled. Joseph. I can explain. I walked past him, through the kitchen, to the back door. I opened it and saw Rusty lying in a patch of sunlight, old and gray around the muzzle but very much alive. He lifted his head, saw me, and his tail thumped weakly against the grass. I knelt down and scratched behind his ears. He licked my hand. Hey boy, I whispered. You're okay. You're okay. I stood and walked back inside. My mother was in the kitchen now, arms crossed, defensive. My father stood in the doorway between the living room and kitchen. We can talk about this, my mother said. You lied about the dog dying to steal money from me. We didn't steal. We asked. You lied. We needed to see if you still cared about this family, she said, her voice rising. You were being selfish, cutting us off. We had to test you. I laughed. It came out harsh and bitter. Test me? You tested me every single day for 6 years. I passed every time. I gave you everything. And we're grateful. My father said weakly. No, you're not. I noticed something on the kitchen table. Documents. Legal papers. A folder with a law firm's name embossed on the front. Sterling and Associates. My name was on one of the pages. I moved toward the table. My mother moved faster, trying to grab the papers, but I was quicker. I picked up the folder and opened it. Last Will and Testament of Margaret Ann Carter, my grandmother. She had died 8 months ago, at the age of 87. I had visited her every single week during her final 2 years, even when she did not remember my name. I sat with her, read to her, brought her flowers. My siblings visited twice. My parents visited once a month, usually to ask for money from her savings. She left me her house in Vermont. $350,000 in value. The will was clear, specific, unambiguous. The house was mine because I was the only one who treated her like a person instead of a checkbook. These documents were a legal contest. My family was trying to overturn the will. The claim stated that I had exercised undue influence over the deceased and manipulated a vulnerable elderly woman for personal financial gain. They were arguing that the will should be voided and the estate split equally among all grandchildren. My sister walked in from the hallway. She saw me holding the papers. Her face went pale. Joseph, it's not what it looks like, she started. It's exactly what it looks like, I said. I pulled out my phone and took photos of every page. My father lunged forward, tried to grab my phone. We collided. His elbow caught my mouth. I tasted blood. My lip split. "Give me that phone," he shouted. I shoved him back. He stumbled. My mother screamed at me to leave, to get out, to never come back. My brother's car pulled into the driveway. Perfect timing. He walked in, assessed the situation immediately. "You going through our stuff now?" Danny asked. "Breaking into the house?" I didn't break in. The door was unlocked. "And this is about me, my name, my inheritance." "Your inheritance," my sister said, her voice dripping with contempt. "You always thought you were better than us. Grandma's favorite, the golden child. You manipulated her. I visited her. I cared about her. You isolated her from us," my mother said, "turned her against her own family." I looked at these people, my blood, my family, and I did not recognize them. Maybe I never really had. "I'm leaving," I said. "And if you pursue this, I'll fight you. I'll win. And you'll get nothing." "We'll see about that," my father said, holding his side where I had shoved him. "Richard Sterling is the best lawyer in the state. You can't afford anyone like him." I smiled, cold and humorless. "Watch me." I left. My lip was still bleeding. I got in my car and drove straight to the law offices of Patricia Brennan. I had found her website a few hours after the Rusty Lie. She specialized in estate law, 5-star reviews, aggressive representation, free consultation. Her office was in a downtown building, 5th floor. The receptionist told me I needed an appointment. I told her it was an emergency. 10 minutes later, I was sitting across from Patricia Brennan herself. She was in her 40s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. I showed her everything: the photos of the legal documents, the text messages from Miami, the spreadsheet of money I had given, the timeline of lies. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. "They really flew to Miami on your birthday using your money, and then tried to steal your inheritance?" "Yes." "And lied about your dog dying to scam more money?" "Yes." She smiled. It was not a kind smile. It was a predator's smile. "I'll take your case. And Joseph, we're going to destroy them." Patricia worked fast. Within 2 days, she had filed a response to the will contest, submitted evidence of my regular visits to my grandmother, and obtained medical records proving my grandmother was of sound mind when she made the will. She also requested witness statements from the nursing home staff, who remembered me as the only consistent family visitor. But there was a problem. Richard Sterling had already filed an emergency injunction, claiming I was planning to sell the Vermont house and hide the assets. It was a lie, but it meant a court hearing was scheduled. 9 days from now. I had to prove I did not manipulate my grandmother, that I was not hiding anything, and that my family's claims were false. I spent every evening after work gathering evidence. I drove to my grandmother's old nursing home, Maplewood Gardens, and spoke with the staff. Nurse Helen, who had cared for my grandmother during her final months, remembered me clearly. "You were here every Sunday," she said. "Like clockwork. You'd bring flowers, read to her from her favorite books. She'd light up when you walked in. Your family, though." She shook her head. "They came once in a blue moon, stayed 10 minutes, and left." She agreed to provide a written statement. I contacted my ex-girlfriend Sarah. I had deleted her number, but I still had her email. I sent her a message explaining what was happening. She called me an hour later. "Joseph, I'm so sorry," she said. Her voice was gentle, familiar. "I knew they were bad, but this is evil. Will you testify? About the money I gave them? About how they treated me?" "Of course. Anything you need." I did not expect that. We had ended badly. But here she was, offering help when my own blood would not. Marcus helped me compile financial records. Bank statements, canceled checks, Venmo transactions. We built a timeline showing $63,000 moving from my accounts to theirs over 6 years. Every birthday gift, every emergency, every crisis that was never really a crisis. My boss Harold pulled me aside again during a coffee break. "How's the family situation?" he asked. I told him about the will contest, the hearing, the fight. He listened, then told me something I did not expect. "I went through this 20 years ago," he said. "My brother tried to contest our mother's will, claimed I brainwashed her. It got ugly, took 2 years to resolve. But I won. And you'll win too. Because you're telling the truth. And the truth has a way of coming out in court." His words helped. But I was still terrified. 5 days before the hearing, Patricia called me at 8 in the evening. Her voice was tight. "Joseph, we have a problem." My stomach dropped. "What?" "I ran a credit check on you as part of our case prep. There are 4 credit cards in your name that you didn't open. Total debt is $37,000. Did you know about this?" "No. I was denied for a car loan 2 months ago. I thought it was a mistake." "It wasn't a mistake. Someone opened these cards using your information. The oldest one is from 3 years ago. The charges are all over the place. Grocery stores, gas stations, luxury purchases. Someone's been using your identity." I felt sick. "Who?" "The billing addresses are registered to your parents' house." My father had stolen my identity. He had opened credit cards in my name, destroyed my credit score, and racked up $37,000 in debt. For 3 years, he had been committing a felony against his own son. "Can we use this?" I asked. "Absolutely. This is identity theft, a federal crime. It proves a pattern of financial exploitation. But Joseph, if we bring this up in court, your father will face criminal charges. Possibly prison time. Are you prepared for that?" I thought about Miami, about my birthday, about the fake emergency with Rusty, about them trying to steal my grandmother's house. "Yes," I said. "I'm prepared." Patricia filed an amended response, including the credit fraud evidence. We submitted copies of the credit card statements, the billing addresses, and a formal complaint to the local police department. A detective named Carol Morris contacted me the next day. She was sympathetic, but direct. "This is serious, Mr. Carter. Identity theft of this magnitude is a felony. If we pursue this, your father will be arrested." "I understand. Are you sure you want to proceed?" I thought about 6 years of giving, 6 years of sacrificing, 6 years of being called a clown. "I'm sure." The hearing was in 4 days. Sarah came over to my apartment to help me prepare my testimony. We sat at my kitchen table, going over questions Patricia might ask, questions Richard Sterling might ask. It felt strange having her there, in my space, after so many months apart. "Why are you helping me?" I asked during a break. She looked at me for a long moment. "Because I care about you, Joseph. I always did. I broke up with you because I couldn't watch you destroy yourself for people who didn't deserve it. But I never stopped caring." I did not know what to say to that. The night before the hearing, I could not sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, running through every possible outcome. Maybe the judge would not believe me. Maybe Richard Sterling would find some loophole. Maybe my family would win, and I would lose everything. My phone buzzed at 2 in the morning. A text from an unknown number. "You're making a mistake. Drop this." I blocked the number. Another text from a different number. "Family is forever. You'll regret this." I blocked that one too. At 6 in the morning, Marcus showed up at my door with coffee and breakfast sandwiches. "You ready?" he asked. "No." "Good. That means you're taking this seriously." He handed me the coffee. "You're going to walk in there, tell the truth, and let the chips fall. That's all you can do." We drove to the courthouse together. Patricia met us in the lobby. She was wearing a sharp navy suit, carrying a briefcase full of evidence. She looked calm, confident. "They're already here," she said, nodding toward the courtroom entrance. "Whole family. Richard Sterling too. He looks nervous." Why would he be nervous? Because he knows he's on the wrong side of this. We walked into the courtroom. My family sat on the left side. My mother, father, sister, and brother. They all stared at me. My mother's eyes were red. My sister looked angry. My brother looked uncomfortable. My father looked scared. Good. He should be scared. Richard Sterling sat at the plaintiff's table. He was a man in his 60s, expensive suit, slicked back hair. He looked like every corrupt lawyer, from every legal drama I had ever seen. The bailiff called the court to order. Judge Margaret Hartwell entered. She was a woman in her 50s, stern face, sharp eyes. She sat, reviewed the case file, and looked up. This is a will contest brought by the estate of Margaret Ann Carter. Mr. Sterling, you represent the contestants? Yes, Your Honor. Miss Brennan, you represent the beneficiary? Yes, Your Honor. Then let's begin. What happened next changed everything. Richard Sterling stood and delivered his opening statement. He painted me as a manipulative opportunist who isolated my grandmother, poisoned her against her own family, and exploited her vulnerability for financial gain. He called me calculating. He called me cruel. He said I was exactly the kind of person who would abandon his family over a simple vacation. Patricia's turn. She stood, calm and methodical. She presented the visitor logs from Maplewood Gardens, showing I was there every single week while my family visited sporadically. She submitted medical records, proving my grandmother had no cognitive impairment when she made the will. She called Nurse Helen to the stand. Helen testified that my grandmother spoke often about how much she appreciated my visits, how lonely she felt when no one else came, how she wanted to leave something meaningful to the one grandchild who treated her with dignity. Richard Sterling cross-examined her aggressively, suggesting she was biased, that her memory was faulty. Helen did not budge. Next, Patricia called Sarah. My ex-girlfriend walked to the stand, was sworn in, and testified about the years she watched me give money to my family. She described the constant requests, the manipulation, the way they treated me like a bank account. Richard Sterling objected repeatedly. Judge Hartwell overruled him every time. Then Patricia called Marcus. He testified about the Miami trip, about the birthday betrayal, about my family's pattern of exploitation. He was calm, clear, and credible. Richard Sterling requested a recess. Judge Hartwell granted it. We stepped into the hallway. My family huddled with their lawyer near the water fountain. My brother kept glancing at me. I did not look away. "You're doing great," Patricia whispered, "but he's going to come back with something. I can feel it." She was right. When court resumed, Richard Sterling called my mother to the stand. She was sworn in, took her seat, and the performance began. She cried. She talked about how much she loved her mother, how painful it was to watch me drive a wedge between them, how I had always been jealous of my siblings' relationships with their grandmother. She claimed I told lies about them to turn my grandmother against them. It was all fiction, pure, scripted fiction, but she sold it well. My father testified next. He said I was obsessed with money, that I kept detailed records of every dollar I gave just so I could hold it over their heads later. He said the Miami trip was planned months in advance, and I was invited but declined because I wanted to play the victim. He said I was vengeful, spiteful, and dangerous. My sister testified that I sent threatening messages after they returned from Miami, that I showed up at their house uninvited, that I physically attacked my father. She made me sound unhinged. My brother testified that I was financially controlling, that I manipulated the family by giving money and then using it as leverage. I watched my family commit perjury, one by one, and felt nothing but cold clarity. Then Patricia stood. "Your Honor, I'd like to present new evidence." She submitted the credit card statements, the ones with my name, the ones with my parents' billing address, the ones showing $37,000 in fraudulent charges over 3 years. "Mr. Carter," Patricia said, addressing my father on the stand, "did you open credit cards in your son's name without his knowledge or consent?" My father's face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about. These statements show charges dating back 3 years. The billing address is your home. The cards are in Joseph's name. How do you explain that?" "I didn't open those cards." "Then who did?" "I don't know." Patricia handed him copies of the statements. "This charge for $600 at Macy's. Was that you?" "No." "This charge for $800 at Best Buy. Was that you?" "No." "This charge for $1,500 at a resort in Florida. Was that you?" He did not answer. Judge Hartwell leaned forward. "Mr. Carter, answer the question." "I want to speak to my lawyer." The judge called another recess. Richard Sterling looked furious. He pulled my father into a private conference room. Voices rose. I could not make out words, but the tone was clear. Sterling was panicking. Patricia turned to me. He's going to crack. I can feel it. We waited. 20 minutes passed. Then Sterling emerged, his face red, his jaw tight. My father followed, looking like he had aged 10 years. Court resumed. Judge Hartwell looked at Sterling. Does your client wish to continue testifying? Sterling hesitated. Your Honor, I request a continuance. We need time to review this new evidence. Denied. Your client is still under oath. Miss Brennan, you may continue. Patricia did not hold back. She asked about the emergency email, the fake surgery for Rusty, the money I gave over 6 years, the Miami trip. My father tried to deflect, tried to evade, but Patricia was relentless. Every answer he gave contradicted his earlier testimony. Every lie unraveled. Finally, Patricia asked the question that ended it. Mr. Carter, did you or did you not use your son's identity to open credit accounts without his consent? My father looked at Richard Sterling. Sterling looked at the floor. My father looked at my mother. She was crying again, but this time it was real. I did, he said quietly. The courtroom went silent. I opened the cards. I used his information. I thought he wouldn't find out. I needed the money. We were struggling. I thought I could pay it back before he noticed. Judge Hartwell's expression did not change, but her voice was ice. You committed identity theft against your own son? I didn't think of it like that. How did you think of it? I thought he would understand. He always helped us. I thought this was just another way he could help. Patricia sat down. She had won. I knew it. Everyone in the courtroom knew it. Richard Sterling tried damage control. He called character witnesses. A neighbor who said my family was upstanding. A church member who said they were kind. But it did not matter. The identity theft was a fact. The credit card statements were evidence. The lies were exposed. Judge Hartwell called another recess and said she would review everything in her chambers. We waited in the hallway for 30 minutes. My family did not look at me. They huddled together, whispering frantically. Then something happened that changed everything. My phone buzzed. An email from an unknown address. No subject line. Just a video attachment. I opened it. The video showed my father and Richard Sterling sitting in a restaurant booth. The angle suggested it was filmed secretly, maybe from a nearby table. The audio was clear. Sterling, we need the emails to look authentic. Can you mimic his writing style? My father, I think so. I've read enough of his messages. Sterling, make them angry. Make them accusatory. Make it look like he was trying to isolate her. My father, what if they check the metadata? Sterling, I have a guy who can make it look legitimate. Timestamps, IP addresses, everything. My father, this feels risky. Sterling, you want the house or not? This is how we get it. The video ended. I stared at my phone, my heart pounding. Someone had recorded them planning to fabricate evidence. Someone had given me proof of fraud. I showed Patricia. Her eyes went wide. Do you know who sent this? No idea. We need to submit this. Now. She filed an emergency motion. Judge Hartwell returned, reviewed the video in chambers, and called both lawyers in. I waited in the courtroom with Marcus and Sarah. My family sat across the aisle, oblivious to what was happening. 20 minutes later, the judge returned. Her face was carved from stone. Mr. Sterling approached the bench. Sterling stood. He looked confused. I have just reviewed evidence of fraud upon this court. You and your client discussed fabricating emails to support your case. Do you deny this? Sterling's face drained of color. Your Honor, I don't know what you're referring to. She played the video for the entire courtroom. My father's voice. Sterling's voice. Conspiracy. Fraud. Evidence tampering. My mother gasped. My siblings looked horrified. Richard Sterling tried to speak, stumbled over words, finally said, Your Honor, I was lied to by my client. I did not know the evidence was fabricated. I would never knowingly submit false documents to this court. And yet, this video suggests otherwise. I can explain. Save it for the state bar, Mr. Sterling. I am referring this matter for investigation. You may face suspension or disbarment. She turned to my father. Mr. Carter, you will take the stand. Immediately. My father walked to the stand like a man heading to his execution. Judge Hartwell did not need Patricia to question him. She did it herself. Did you fabricate emails purporting to be from your son? Yes. Did you conspire with your attorney to present false evidence to this court? Yes. Did you commit perjury during your earlier testimony? He hesitated. Then, quietly, yes. Judge Hartwell leaned back. This will contest is dismissed with prejudice. The will of Margaret Ann Carter stands as written. Joseph Carter is the sole beneficiary of her Vermont property. Further, I am awarding attorney's fees to Mr. Carter in the amount of $32,000 to be paid by the contestants jointly and severally. She looked at my father. I am also referring the identity theft matter to the district attorney's office for criminal prosecution. You should expect to be contacted by law enforcement. She banged her gavel. We're adjourned. The courtroom erupted. My mother was sobbing. My sister was yelling at my father. My brother sat with his head in his hands. Richard Sterling was gathering his papers frantically, trying to leave before anyone could ask questions. I sat there, numb, barely able to process what had just happened. Patricia turned to me, grinning. We won. Completely. Outside the courthouse, my family surrounded me. My mother screamed that I was sending my father to prison. My sister called me heartless. My brother said I had destroyed the family. You stopped being my family when you flew to Miami, I said calmly. A courthouse security guard intervened, pulled them back. Patricia filed for a restraining order that afternoon. It was granted immediately. Over the next 2 days, I learned who sent the video. Her name was Diana, my mother's younger sister, my aunt. I had not seen her in 5 years. She called me through Marcus, who she had tracked down through mutual friends. Joseph, I'm sorry I didn't reach out sooner, she said. Your family cut me off years ago. They swindled me out of a business partnership, took $60,000, and left me with nothing. I've been documenting their behavior ever since, waiting for the right moment to help someone. She had recordings, text messages, emails, years of evidence showing my family's schemes, their manipulation, their lies. Why didn't you use this to get your money back? I asked. Because I wanted them to hurt someone else first. I wanted proof they were a pattern, not a one-time mistake. You gave me that proof. And now, we can both get justice. She was cold, calculated, but she was on my side. Then, the bomb dropped. The district attorney's office called a man named Thomas Wade. He was calm, professional, and terrifying. Mr. Carter, the identity theft investigation has uncovered something significant. Your father's activities extend beyond your case. He works at a medical billing office, correct? Yes. He's been using patient information to open fraudulent accounts. We've identified 12 victims so far, elderly patients. He stole their identities, opened credit cards, took out loans. This is a federal crime, multiple counts. He's facing 15 to 20 years in prison. I sat down. My legs would not hold me. We'll need your cooperation, Wade continued. But I want you to know your family is about to lose everything. Their assets will likely be seized to pay restitution. Their house, their cars, their savings. This is bigger than your case now. I thanked him and hung up. My phone immediately started ringing. My mother, my brother, my sister, all calling, all desperate. I blocked them all, except one. My mother left a voicemail. I listened to it once. Joseph, please, you have to help your father. He made mistakes, but he's still your dad. We'll lose the house. We'll lose everything. We're family. You can't abandon us. Please call me back, please. I deleted it. They called 17 more times that day. I did not answer. The next morning, the calls turned to messages. Desperate, frantic, pleading. My brother, Joe, come on man, he's our dad. You can't let him go to prison. My sister, this is all your fault. If you had just let the Miami thing go, none of this would have happened. My mother, Joseph, I'm begging you. Talk to the district attorney. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. Please, we're going to lose everything. I did not respond to any of them. Patricia called that afternoon. The DA wants to meet with you. They're building a case against your father, and your testimony will be crucial. Are you willing to cooperate? Yes. Joseph, I need to make sure you understand what this means. Your father will go to prison. Your family will likely lose their home and assets. They'll hate you for this. Are you prepared for that? I thought about my 28th birthday. About the word clown. About $63,000. About Rusty. About my grandmother's house. I'm prepared. The meeting with Thomas Wade was scheduled for the following Monday. But that weekend, everything escalated. Saturday morning, my father was arrested. Federal agents showed up at my parents' house with a warrant. They seized computers, documents, financial records. My mother called me from the driveway, hysterical. They're taking everything. They're treating him like a criminal. He is a criminal, Mom. How can you say that? He's your father. He stole from his own son. He stole from elderly patients. He's a thief. She hung up on me. By Saturday afternoon, the story hit the local news. Medical billing employee arrested in identity theft ring. They did not name my father, but they described the charges. 12 victims. Estimated damages over $200,000. Potential federal prison sentence. My phone exploded. Old friends messaging me, asking if I had seen the news, asking if it was my dad. I did not respond. Sunday, my Aunt Diana called. Have you seen Facebook? I had not. I opened the app. My sister had posted a long message. My family is going through the hardest time of our lives right now. My father has been falsely accused of crimes he didn't commit. We're being persecuted by people who want to destroy us. If you're really our friends, please pray for us and support us. We need all the help we can get. And to the person who caused all of this, you know who you are. I hope you're happy. I hope destroying your own family was worth it. The comments were split. Some people offered prayers and support. Others asked what happened. A few people who knew me from high school commented, "Wait, isn't Joseph part of your family? What's going on?" My sister responded to those. Joseph turned his back on us when we needed him most. He chose money over family. That's all anyone needs to know. I closed Facebook. I did not defend myself. The truth would come out eventually. Monday, I met with Thomas Wade at the federal building downtown. He was a tall man in his 50s, gray suit, serious demeanor. He walked me through the case. 12 victims, most of them elderly. One woman lost her entire retirement savings. Another man's credit was destroyed right before he tried to buy a house. My father had ruined lives. Your testimony will help establish pattern of behavior, Wade explained. It shows this wasn't a one-time mistake. It was deliberate, calculated, and ongoing. What happens to my family? I asked. The assets will likely be seized to pay restitution to the victims. Your mother wasn't directly involved, so she won't face charges, but she'll lose the house, the cars, probably their savings. Your siblings aren't implicated, but they'll be affected by the fallout. And my father? If he pleads guilty, maybe 10 to 12 years. If he goes to trial and loses, 15 to 20. I signed the paperwork. I agreed to testify. I walked out of that building feeling like I had just signed my family's death warrant. Tuesday, the restraining order was finalized. My family could not contact me, could not come within 500 feet of my home or workplace. It felt like closing a door that would never open again. Wednesday, my grandmother's house officially transferred to my name. Patricia handled the paperwork. The deed was filed. It was mine. $350,000 in real estate, sitting on 5 acres in Vermont, overlooking a lake. I had never even seen it in person. Thursday, I requested time off from work. Harold approved it immediately. Take care of yourself, Joseph. Family stuff is always the hardest. Friday, I drove to Vermont. 6 hours north, through mountains and small towns and forests that seemed to go on forever. I had the address programmed into my GPS. When I pulled into the driveway, I sat in my car for 10 minutes, just staring. The house was beautiful. A 2-story colonial with white siding and black shutters. A wraparound porch, mature maple trees in the yard, a stone path leading to the front door. Beyond the house, through the trees, I could see the lake glittering in the afternoon sunday. I got out of the car and walked to the front door. The key Patricia had given me fit perfectly. The door opened with a creak. The inside smelled like my grandmother, lavender, and old books. The furniture was still there, covered in white sheets, hardwood floors, a fireplace in the living room, a kitchen with windows overlooking the backyard. Upstairs, 3 bedrooms. The master had a view of the lake. On the bed in the master bedroom, I found an envelope with my name on it, my grandmother's handwriting. I sat on the bed and opened it. Dearest Joseph, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you've inherited this house. I hope it brings you peace. I knew your family would fight you for it. I knew they would say terrible things. I'm sorry for that. But I also knew you were strong enough to handle it. You visited me every week when I was dying. You held my hand. You read to me. You treated me like I still mattered. Your parents came when they needed money. Your siblings came out of obligation. But you came out of love. This house is yours because you earned it. Not through manipulation. Not through greed. Through kindness. Through showing up. Through being the kind of person I always hoped you would become. Don't let them take this from you. Don't let them make you feel guilty. You deserve good things, Joseph. You always have. Build a life here. Find people who love you for who you are, not what you can give them. Be happy. That's all I ever wanted for you. I love you. Always. Grandma. I read the letter 3 times. Then I cried. Not for my family. Not for the court battle or the betrayal. I cried for my grandmother, who saw me clearly when no one else did. I cried for the years I wasted trying to earn love from people who would never give it. I cried for the version of myself who thought being a clown meant being valued. I stayed in Vermont through the weekend. I walked around the property. I sat by the lake. I imagined what life could be like here. Quiet, peaceful, mine. Sunday evening, I drove back to my apartment. I had decisions to make. Big ones. Monday morning, Patricia called. Your father pleaded guilty. Took a deal. 12 years in federal prison. Restitution of $215,000 to the victims. The house is being seized. Your mother has to be out by the end of the month. Where will she go? Not your problem, Joseph. She was right. But it still felt strange. That afternoon, my phone buzzed with a notification. A letter had been delivered to my apartment. I drove home, found it in my mailbox. The return address was my parents' house. Inside was a single piece of paper, my mother's handwriting. You destroyed this family. I hope you're proud of yourself. Don't ever contact us again. You're not our son anymore. I read it once. Then I tore it into pieces and threw it away. That evening, I made a decision. I would move to Vermont. Leave my apartment, leave this city, leave the memories, start over. I gave notice at work. Harold understood. Sometimes you have to burn it all down to build something better, he said. I called Sarah. I'm moving to Vermont. Thought you should know. Can I visit? She asked. Yeah, I'd like that. I called Marcus. Road trip to help me move? Already packing my truck, brother. I called Diana. Thank you for everything. You deserved justice, Joseph. I'm glad I could help. Over the next 2 weeks, I packed my life into boxes. I sold furniture I did not need. I donated clothes. I kept only what mattered. My family tried one last time. My brother showed up at my apartment, ignoring the restraining order. He pounded on the door, shouting that I was a coward, that I had ruined everything, that I would regret this for the rest of my life. I called the police. He was arrested for violating the restraining order. He spent the night in jail. I did not feel guilty. Finally, moving day arrived. Marcus drove up in his truck. Sarah came to help pack. We loaded boxes, furniture, and my entire life into 2 vehicles. As I locked my apartment door for the last time, I felt something I had not felt in years. Relief. The drive to Vermont felt like shedding skin. Every mile north was a mile away from the past, from the people who called me a clown, from the family that valued my money more than my presence. Marcus drove ahead in his truck. Sarah rode with me, and somewhere in the back of my car, underneath boxes of books and kitchen supplies, was the letter from my grandmother. We arrived at the house just as the sun was setting over the lake. The water turned gold and orange, reflecting the sky like a mirror. Marcus whistled low when he saw the property. "Man, your grandma left you a palace." "She left me peace," I said. We spent the weekend unpacking. Marcus helped me set up furniture. Sarah organized the kitchen. We painted the living room a soft gray. We hung curtains. We made the house feel lived in. By Sunday evening, it felt like home. Marcus left Monday morning. He hugged me hard before getting in his truck. "You did the right thing, Joe. Don't ever doubt that." Sarah stayed through Tuesday. We walked around the property, explored the small town nearby, ate dinner on the porch while watching the sunset. On her last evening, we sat by the lake, with our feet in the water. "Are you happy?" she asked. I thought about that question. About what happiness meant. About whether I deserved it after everything I had done. "I think I will be," I said. "Eventually. You will. And Joseph, for what it's worth, I'm proud of you. It takes courage to walk away from family. It doesn't feel like courage. It feels like survival. Sometimes they're the same thing." She left Wednesday morning. I stood on the porch and waved as her car disappeared down the driveway. Then I was alone. I started a new job remotely, working for an insurance firm in Boston. The pay was good, the work was flexible, and I could do it from anywhere with internet. My apartment back in the city became a rental property, generating $800 a month in passive income. My credit score was slowly recovering thanks to Patricia's help and the legal documentation of the identity theft. Financially, I was stable for the first time in years. Emotionally, I was healing. Aunt Diana visited in late September. She brought homemade apple pie and stories about my grandmother I had never heard. We sat on the porch, ate pie, and talked for hours. She told me about the business my family had swindled her out of, about the years of anger she carried, about how watching me fight back had given her closure. "Seeing you win made me feel like I won too," she said. "Like their pattern finally got broken." "Do you still hate them?" I asked. "No. Hate takes too much energy. I just don't care about them anymore. That's better than hate." I understood what she meant. In October, I adopted a dog from the local animal shelter. A mutt with floppy ears and a tail that never stopped wagging. I named him Charlie. He followed me everywhere, slept at the foot of my bed, and barked at squirrels in the yard. Rusty would have liked him. November brought the first snow. I had never lived anywhere with real winters. I bought a snow shovel, learned how to winterize pipes, and discovered I actually enjoyed the cold. The lake froze over. The trees looked like they were made of glass. Sarah visited for Thanksgiving. We cooked dinner together, just the two of us and Charlie. Turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie. We ate on the porch despite the cold, wrapped in blankets, watching snow fall over the lake. "This is nice," she said. "Peaceful." "Yeah, it is. Do you miss them? Your family?" I considered the question honestly. I miss the idea of them, the version I thought they were. But the real them? No, I don't miss being used. That's healthy. It doesn't always feel healthy. Sometimes it feels selfish. Boundaries aren't selfish, Joseph. They're necessary. In December, I received an email from Thomas Wade. My father's sentencing had been finalized. 12 years in federal prison. Restitution payments would be garnished from any income he earned while incarcerated. My mother and siblings had moved into a small rental house across town from where they used to live. They were struggling financially but managing. "Thought you'd want to know," Wade wrote. "Your testimony made a real difference. Several victims reached out to thank you personally. You helped give them closure." I did not know how to feel about that. Vindicated? Guilty? Both? I never responded to the email. Christmas came. Marcus drove up with his new girlfriend. a woman named Angela who worked as a teacher. We spent 3 days together, playing board games, cooking meals, and hiking through the snowy woods. It was the best Christmas I had ever had. On New Year's Eve, I sat alone on the porch with Charlie at my feet. I thought about the past year, about Miami, about my 28th birthday, about the word clown. I pulled out my phone and opened Facebook for the first time in months. I had kept my family blocked, but I unblocked them just long enough to post one thing. I uploaded a photo of the lake view, the water frozen and peaceful, the mountains in the distance. The caption read, 28 was rough, but 29 is looking pretty good. Here's to family, the one you choose. I watched the post go live. Within 3 minutes, my mother had viewed it. No comment, no reaction, just viewed. I blocked them again and deleted the Facebook app from my phone. I did not need their validation. I did not need their acknowledgement. I did not need anything from them ever again. January brought clarity. I realized that I had spent 6 years trying to earn love from people who were incapable of giving it. I had confused obligation with affection, guilt with loyalty, and transaction with relationship. My family did not love me. They loved what I could provide. And when I stopped providing, I stopped existing to them. That was not love. That was exploitation. I also realized something else. I was not a clown. Clowns perform for applause, for validation, for attention. I had given because I thought that is what family did. I was not performing. I was loving in the only way I knew how. My family's inability to appreciate that love was not my failure. It was theirs. February, I started seeing Sarah regularly. She drove up every other weekend. We went slowly, carefully, rebuilding what we once had with better boundaries and clearer communication. She never pressured me. She just showed up, consistently, honestly, the way family should. March, I planted a garden. I had never gardened before, but my grandmother's property had a perfect spot for it. I planted tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, herbs. I watched things grow. I learned patience. April brought my 29th birthday. Sarah drove up with a homemade cake. Marcus called to sing happy birthday off-key. Diana sent flowers. Harold sent a card with a handwritten note. Proud of you, kid. Nobody from my blood family reached out. I did not expect them to. I did not want them to. I spent the day hiking with Sarah and Charlie. We packed a picnic, climbed to a ridge overlooking the valley, and ate sandwiches while watching hawks circle overhead. It was perfect. Simple. Mine. That evening, sitting on the porch with a glass of wine, I thought about everything I had learned. I learned that blood does not make you family. Loyalty does. Love does. Showing up does. My family shared my DNA, but they were strangers. Sarah, Marcus, Diana, Harold, even Charlie, they were my real family, the ones I chose, the ones who chose me back. I learned that giving is not the same as loving. Generosity without reciprocity is not a relationship. It is a transaction. And I had been bankrolling people who saw me as an ATM, not a son, not a brother, not a person. I learned that boundaries are not cruelty, they are self-preservation. Saying no is not selfish, it is survival. Walking away from people who hurt you is not weakness, it is strength. I learned that you cannot pour from an empty cup. I had spent years giving, until I had nothing left, then wondering why I felt hollow. You have to fill yourself first. You have to value yourself first. Nobody else will do it for you. I learned that some people are takers. They will drain you dry and blame you for being empty. They will call you selfish when you stop giving. They will call you a clown when you stop performing. Let them. Their opinion is not your reality. I learned that the people who truly love you will show it through actions, not words. They will visit you in the hospital, not just text condolences. They will help you move, not just wish you luck. They will be there on your birthday, not just post on your wall. Most importantly, I learned that I deserved better. I always deserved better. And it took losing everything to realize I had been accepting scraps when I deserved a feast. My grandmother knew this. That is why she left me the house. Not because I manipulated her, not because I isolated her, but because I saw her as a person, not a resource. I valued her presence, not her possessions. I loved her when nobody else did. And in the end, that love was returned, not through money, not through inheritance, but through this house, this land, this peace. She gave me a place to heal, a place to rebuild, a place to become the person I was always meant to be. I picked up my phone one last time and composed a message I would never send, but I needed to write it. You called me a clown. You said you didn't want to waste your time on me, but here's what you didn't understand. I was never performing for you. I was loving you. Genuinely, unconditionally, without expecting anything in return. That wasn't weakness. That was strength. And you mistook my kindness for foolishness, my generosity for desperation, my love for obligation. You were wrong. About all of it. I'm not a clown. I'm not your ATM. I'm not your emergency fund. I'm not your backup plan. I'm just Joseph. And for the first time in my life, that's enough. You wanted a clown? You got consequences. I gave you boundaries. I gave you truth. I gave you justice. And most importantly, I gave myself freedom. I don't hate you. I don't even think about you most days. You're just people I used to know. People who taught me what love is not. And for that lesson, as painful as it was, I'm grateful. Because now I know what real family looks like. And you're not it. I deleted the message. They did not deserve my words. They did not deserve my energy. They did not deserve anything from me ever again. Charlie nudged my hand with his nose. I scratched behind his ears. The sun was setting again, painting the lake in shades of pink and purple. Sarah was inside making dinner. Marcus was planning his next visit. Diana was sending me articles about Vermont hiking trails. Harold had recommended me for a promotion. This was my life now. Quiet, peaceful, mine. And it was enough. More than enough. It was everything. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had to walk away from family? Have you ever set boundaries with people who thought you owed them everything? Have you ever been called selfish for choosing yourself? If you have, I want you to know something. You're not alone. You're not wrong. And you deserve people who see your value, without you having to prove it constantly. If this story resonated with you, do me a favor. Leave a comment below telling me about a time you chose yourself over obligation. Hit that like button if you believe boundaries are a form of self-love. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories about finding strength in difficult choices. And share this with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to walk away from people who don't value them. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope you find your Vermont. I hope you find your peace. I hope you find people who love you the way you deserve to be loved. Not because of what you can give them, but because of who you are. Take care of yourselves. You're worth it.